Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. So today's video is going to be a little bit of a mix of two different series. We are going to look at how my lettering has changed over the course of using a bullet journal. So this video will kind of fit into my bullet journal evolution series as well as my letter like a lefty series. And I figured it would just be kind of fun to go back through since I have just finished my 8th bullet journal at the end of 2019. I have kind of a lot of data, I guess, if you want to think of it that way, a lot of data to show you guys. So what I've decided to do is I've pulled out a couple of my bullet journals and I started I started bullet journaling at the end of March 2016, and I was in my first official bullet journal in April 2016, and fairly shortly after that I started getting into lettering. So what I decided to do is I want to show you a couple of things in my first bullet journal, and then I've also picked basically a year in, so April 2017. I also have April, wait a minute, did I not get April 2018? Hold on a second, I will be right back. Okay, so we've got April too. So basically I'm gonna show you April through the years, and I also have another little one in this journal that I will show you guys. So this is just gonna be kind of a look back through time so you guys can see like how I letter now is not at all the way that I lettered when I started, and you know, things honestly plateau for a really long time. And so if you are just starting to get into lettering and you're feeling frustrated, like, don't worry, you just have to kind of keep at it. It will come with time. So let's take a look inside my first bullet journal. It's always fun coming back in here. So this is the first real lettering thing that I attempted to do. And as you can see, it looks not great. It's basically just cursive and not very good cursive. So I decided to do this in the fly page of this bullet journal, which unfortunately meant that there was no grid. And so it is, you know, very kind of wobbly and whatever. So I think this actually was done with, I think it was a Faber-Castell brush pen or something like that. It's a brush pen that I no longer really use because it didn't work very well for me. So this was one that I was like, I really want to do this minimalist mantra and I want to try lettering. So in my typical way, I just kind of went for it without actually like practicing how to letter and doing upstrokes and downstrokes. And once I finished this, I probably got to about here and I was like, oh man, this looks terrible, but I've committed, like, let's finish it. Once I actually finished with this quote, that is when I kind of started working on figuring out like, okay, how does lettering work? Like, you know, trying to get my upstrokes to be thin and downstrokes to be thicker and all of that kind of stuff. So over here, let's see, a lot of this was like faux calligraphy for a really long time, but you can see here I've sort of started working on lettering. And if you've seen any of my older letter like a lefty videos, you'll know that I don't really do drills, and by I don't do drills. I practice by writing. And so one of the ways that I practiced was just by lettering in my bullet journal. And a lot of it, especially my first bullet journal, looks kind of terrible. But I also now have this record in a sort of chronologic fashion. I've just got like all kinds of things over here. And you can see that I didn't really get into like real lettering, brush lettering in here. I mean, even this is faux calligraphy. Even in my first bullet journal, I didn't really get into doing true brush lettering until very, very late in this journal. And that's not to say I wasn't working on it. I just wasn't comfortable enough with doing it to actually put it in my bullet journal. So what I ended up doing is, so here's, it kind of starts. Let's see, I did sort of do, but I mean, this is brush lettering, but just print. It's not actually cursive or calligraphy or anything like that. So this is probably one of the first ones that I really tried to do. And you'll see like the spacing isn't great. I ran out of the room for here. My D is like extra tall for whatever weird reason. But I mean, this is probably, so when is this? This is July. So this is 2 months in of just playing around on like scratch paper and, you know, actually getting brush pens and playing around with them and trying to figure out what was going to work for me, for my handwriting, but also for me just being a lefty and not having the same access to tutorials that righties did at that time. I mean, this is back in 2016, so there weren't quite as many tutorials out there that exist now. Like right now is a pretty good time to learn how to letter. So you can see here, like, it's definitely gotten better. There's still like issues with spacing and things being wobbly and like my drop shadow and all of that. But like, you can see if you actually just kind of make lettering part of your daily life, it eventually will get better. And you know, some things turn out better than other things. So by the end of this bullet journal, I decided to redo that minimalist mantra quote. And I was playing around with, you know, actually setting things up and accenting certain letters and doing some brush lettering and some printing and cursive and all of that kind of stuff. And, you know, it's still not perfect by any stretch, but it's definitely light years better than it was at the beginning. Like this to this is pretty good. So that was kind of in my first bullet journal. You can even see here I had extra pages, and so I was like, let's try doing this. Oops, nope, that didn't work. Moving on. And you know, it's just a matter of playing around and not being afraid to letter stuff that doesn't look very good. Honestly, like, and I think I did 7 days of lettering, so that's what this was. So I did 7 days of lettering kind of in July, I want to say, and so this was day 11. So I just was like, all right, I'm going to pick different things and I'm just going to letter for 70 days, goodness gracious. So I just decided to do a lettering challenge where I would just letter something every day for 70 days. And like just the actual physical act of practicing that much, it'll make you get better. So yeah, this is kind of in the first one. Oh my gosh, this, I don't even know what happened there. But you know, you just start playing around and you figure out what works and you kind of figure out your style. I'd already started kind of experimenting with swoopy O's, for example, and all of that. So here, I'm gonna try and keep this video a little bit shorter than some of them are. So let's take a look at April a year later. So, and I actually haven't even looked through all of these in a while, so let's see kind of how they go. You can even see in terms of my index that my handwriting, just in general, because of, you know, because of bullet journaling, because of hand lettering and all of this, my handwriting just in and of itself started getting a little bit neater and a little bit more clear. I had a lot more control just within a year of what I was actually doing when I wrote. And that, honestly, that also made a big difference in terms of lettering. Just having more control in general meant that my lettering was then that much more in my control. So let's see, where do I even have, and like see here, I didn't even bother to do any sort of lettering. Oh, I forgot I did the little stop sign trackers. So here, for example, this was April 2017, 1 year in my BOHO, and this is what my lettering looks like. You know, a lot more consistent even from back here. So let's see, oh my gosh, all kinds of things fall. Like even just like this versus that, you can see that I've figured out like spacing and using space a little bit better and playing around with different styles and sizes of letters. It just honestly comes with practice. And this was, you know, a year's worth of practice. And this was when I was doing, for example, my gratitude log, and I was doing lettered gratitude logs because that was another way for me to get a little bit of practice just about every day. So it took a lot of time, but it got there, you know what I mean? Like it got there eventually. This is actually in watercolor. So that was something that I played with, you know, I think into my second year of bullet journaling as I started playing with watercolor lettering. So by the time I got through this bullet journal, and it was the end of 2017, that was somewhere around here was when I started doing the Letter Like a Lefty series. And I actually did a styles sheet, and I'm actually going to redo this because I think it'll be interesting to compare it with this first one. But as you can see here, this is, you know, a year and a half in, and just especially with the lettering side of things, it just there's a lot more control happening than there was when I first started. So let's see, moving on to what's actually in my bullet journal. So this is April of 2018. So let's take a look. So this is, I have a lot of Korean in here. So hopefully I have some here. Nope. Where are we? So hopefully I have some lettering in here. I think we're gonna have to go back a little ways. Oops. Yeah, so there's a lot of Korean happening in here. So this was the end of March. This was getting into April. So even just like my cursive looks much better than it used to. Here, just like little lettering, but I also figured out my style. So for example, I do some little swoops and stuff, but I don't do a lot of flourishes. It tends to be very sort of uniform in a way. Even my bouncy lettering is not super like crazy looking, and that's just the style that works for me. It suits the way that I write, and so it's something that I can easily do and have it come out looking fairly decent most of the time. So I mean, see here, like my Aprils look pretty similar because it's in a style that I know really well and that I can replicate because that's just the way that I write at this point. So yeah, so let's take a look over here. Here was a month that I didn't do a lot of reading, so I played around with some lettering over here. And one of the things you'll notice, this one I weirdly decided to do it, but a lot of times I don't even have this little like tail on the left side of things. And for this one, for whatever reason, I decided to do it. Kind of just depends. Let's see, there's a lot of Korean in here. So here I was saving lines from K-dramas, and so I was just practicing cursive. So this is just what my like normal cursive is, and I really worked on this. I used, maybe it's Spencerian, but it's basically a style that Boho Berry uses, and I used that as my basis because it wasn't like super flourishy or swoopy, but it looked nice. So I just kind of picked that as the base style I was going to work from. And I was initially looking at like the different letters to see what I was doing, but now I don't even do that, and I just have certain things that I do in kind of my style. So it's probably not even exactly the same as what I was looking at, but it helped me it helped give me a jumping off point, if you will. So playing around with a lot of that. This was a style I did where, you know, I did one letter per little box for a really long time. I kind of miss that, but at the same time my handwriting has changed a lot, and so it doesn't even really make any sense. But here, once again, like this is what I consider my bouncy lettering, and it's not even super crazy. Like it's still fairly uniform. You can still see it's mostly on the line. You know, my general lettering is still, even with, this is with a Tombow, it's still not like super huge. And I think, you know, this was what I did at this point, and I think things have even changed since then. So let's take a look at April. So this is April in year 3 of bullet journaling. So April of 2020 is going to be year 4. So let's take a peek. Let's see. So where's April? I think this was April, wasn't it? Yes, it was. So did I even do any brush lettering? So here you can see I have my library loans in brush lettering. And so this is with a Pentel sign pen. This is with a Tombow, and even this, you can see like I was playing around with different styles. This is sort of a bouncy letter style, but it's still, I think, kind of recognizable as my style. So I think that was probably one of the best things that I figured out kind of early on, was I would look at other people's examples and I kind of picked the parts that I liked, and then once I got comfortable enough, I stopped looking at the examples and I just kind of let it develop from there, so that now I feel like I have a fairly solid style, and I, you know, will adjust things and change things over time, but I always have this like kind of home base that I can come back to with my lettering that I know works for me, I know is comfortable, and I know it's something that I can replicate, you know, whenever I need to. And yeah, so let's see, taking a look at, do I have like actually a lettered quote in here, even if it's not from, no, I didn't really do that in lettering. Here, for example, this is a quote that I lettered in November of last year versus the first thing I ever lettered. I mean, this is not really, I mean, this is what it is, you know, 3 years later, 3.5 years later at this point, this is what a lot of daily practice can do. And it doesn't even have to be doing drills. I mean, if drills are your thing, like absolutely do that. That will definitely help you. I think that I probably would have gotten better faster if I had done drills, but I knew that that was not going to be something that I would actually do. And so what I did is I said, okay, I'm bullet journaling. I do it every day. Why don't I just make lettering a part of my daily routine? And so it's something that I do a little bit of every single day, or most days, because obviously there are some days, you know, when I was doing my dailies in Korean, I wasn't actually doing any sort of lettering, but it's something that I, you know, do in my bullet journal. It's something that I do now. I do, my thumbnails are lettered in Procreate, yes, but it's still a, you know, a form of practicing. And so almost daily practice over 3.5 years, this is the kind of improvement that I personally was able to see. So yeah, don't feel discouraged if your lettering's not there yet. It honestly just takes time, lots and lots of time. It is definitely more manageable if you try to make lettering part of your daily routine in some way, shape, or other. Depends on what you actually have in your daily routine, but if you really want to get better at lettering, you just have to put in the hours, honestly. So yeah. That is kind of a random little video. I thought that, you know, you guys have seen sort of the evolution of my lettering over time, sort of, but it's been a long time since I've actually done like a side-by-side comparison or looked back through old bullet journals to see what the actual progression was. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. If you guys have any comments or questions, let me know down below. I will link the playlist to my Letter Like a Lefty series up there. So if you guys want to check out the videos, a lot of them are older, but I think there's still some decent information in there. And yeah, that's all I have. I will see you guys in my next video. Bye. Hi guys, so if you've made it all the way to the end of this video and are actually watching my end screen and you're not subscribed to my channel, I would really appreciate it if you would. There's a little button right there for you to do it. And if you're interested in watching some more of my videos, I have links to 2 of my older videos off to the left there, so you can check those out if you would like to, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye!